And it's not working. Religion isn't working. And the more you guys try to clean up our act, the more we realize the problem isn't our behavior. The problem is our soul. Yeah. And I think in that kind of moment, there's an opportunity to either knee-jerk away from religion and completely walk away into agnosticism and atheism, or to knee-jerk away from religion and walk into grace. Mm. You know, for me, I escaped from Iran to get away from these same religious zealot people that wanted me and my family dead. The college students of Iran haven't had that luxury. They're still in Iran. Yeah. But we got away, and for 10 years of my life, I wanted to have nothing to do with religion. And then when I was 18 years old, I found out that I don't have to have anything to do with religion to come to Christ. Mm. And I'm praying that the same thing will happen in Iran. There actually is an awakening in Iran that's happening. There actually is a revival in Iran that's happening. And I think that's the only way you're going to see change. Because if the change was going to come just from frustration, from young people who want to see the government politically overthrown, then it would have come a couple of months ago when they hit the streets, right after the election that was fixed and all these different things. But at the end of the day, these college students hit the streets, some died, and then when it came to that crucible moment where 20,000 could have died and been martyred, and that would have tipped it over, people just stayed home. Yeah. They weren't really willing to die to see the government overthrown. But I think that if they're willing to die to see grace abound, they're willing to die to see religion die, but Christ be exalted, that's worth dying for. And I think we could see something really change in Iran.
I see this great juxtaposition of theocracy with the Twitter generation. Mm. I mean, it was astonishing with all of the caps that the theocrats put on the news coming out of Iran in the last few months. There's these young Iranians twittering, and with their cell phones and giving coverage to what was going on so the rest of the world could see. You know, I'm watching this and I'm thinking about the Taliban, I'm thinking about Al-Qaeda. In both cases, Taliban and Al-Qaeda, what they're dreaming for is a theocracy in Afghanistan, a theocracy in Pakistan, a theocracy in Indonesia. And I'm saying, look ahead, fellas, look at Iran and see where your idea of theocracy leads.
Right.
I mean, it's a zero-sum game. There is no way in this modern world that this kind of ideology is going to win the day. Obviously.
Absolutely.
And I think that your distinction in the book, and you keep making it again and again, is very, very apropos. You got religion, you got relationship.
Yeah.
And the relationship is defined in terms of grace, the unmerited favor of God. Mm. I was interested in the way you came to faith, in the sense that you had these no-quit high school friends who kept showing up at your house week in and week out, really quite zealous.
They were.
Yeah, and maybe overly so, but you embraced it.
I did, because I think at the end of the day, my soul was designed to want it.
Right.
And so as much as at first I thought, who are these people coming after me, trying to convert me into Christianity? I don't want to have anything to do with them. Deep down inside, I really did. Deep down inside, I knew that they had something that I needed in my life. They had something that made them complete. You know, they had something that brought them peace. And I didn't have peace. I didn't have completeness in my life. And so, you know, here I am as a 9-year-old boy who's escaped from religion, gone wrong, into America. And for 10 years, I chased after the wind. I mean, I learned from 9 to about 18, from 9 to 19, you know, I learned how to play the American culture game, you know, the North American game. It's no different in Canada than in the United States. You know, just learn how to dump the right girl before she dumps you, learn how to wear the right clothes, how to end up at the right lunchroom table in school, learn how to drive the right car, you know, listen to the right music, and you can become popular.
You even learned how to do and deal drugs.
I did. You know, whatever it took just to get a crowd. And so it's so true what the Bible says, where it says, what good is it for a man to gain the whole world, but to forfeit his soul? And so I'd gain all of these things, but I was still emotionally bankrupt, and I graduated from high school and realized that all that stuff that I thought would bring me happiness still didn't bring me happiness. And then one afternoon, a friend of mine invited me to go to church. And once I went to this church for the first time, and these students at this church...
You went to church to check out the chicks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely didn't go because I thought there's a vacuum in my heart.
You were looking for the girls.
Yeah, well, I got invited to church by my buddy. By the way, this is a guy who's handing me a joint of marijuana while he's inviting me to church.
Praise the Lord and pass another one.
Yeah. I tell people, I know it says in the Bible in Genesis, it says God made the grass and it was good, but that's not what it means, right? And so this buddy of mine, who's in front of my house on a Saturday night, a drug addict with me, he's passing me a joint while he's inviting me to church. And I told him I don't want to go to church, I hate religion.
The remarkable capacity of Christian subculture to adapt the culture of the day. I mean, it's
right.
You know, and we do it and don't even see ourselves. But anyway, the Lord was working through all of this.
He was, because I said, no, I don't want to go. But then he named the 5 prettiest girls from our high school and told me they all went to his church. And so I felt motivated to visit. And so I went for the wrong reason. But that's the beauty of God, you know, that God was so much bigger than my reason. And so I went to church for the first time, and once I made a connection that first time with his church, and these students in the student ministry saw that I was coming, after that, they just came after me. And so every Sunday and every Wednesday and every Monday, they would just come to my house, and they would share the gospel with me, and they would drag me to church. Now, I say drag me, but I wanted to go. Deep down inside, I wanted to go. And eventually, when I was 18, after a few months of going and really examining what they were about and seeing their life and recognizing their authenticity, I realized that they weren't religious people who wanted me to become religious. They hated religion as much as I did. They loved Jesus, and it was a whole different thing. And so I became a Christian when I was 18 through their witness.
You know, people really have to read your book, Jumping Through Fires. Let's just show the book one more time here. It's a remarkable book. I love the 4 or 5 parking lots in your life, and how the Lord utilized these as signature moments in your development. You became a zealous believer. You became a legalistic believer. You were given far too much responsibility for your immaturity.
Yeah.
That often happens in churches. You were outgoing. You could speak, and so people gave you more maybe than you could handle. Nevertheless, let's leave that for the book. People have got to read that.
Yeah.
We got 2 minutes. What are you doing now?
Man, I'm traveling and just really being a tiny little arrow for the glory of God, pointing to Him. It's so funny because I wake up every morning and I just go, I cannot believe I get to do, this morning, you know, I got up at the Holiday Inn and just, you know, ironing my shirt. I'm thinking, I cannot believe I get to be on this amazing show, Huntley Street, and I get to have somebody put a microphone to my shirt and I get to brag on God, boast on what He's done in my life. And so last night I was in an amphitheater with 10,000 people in Buffalo, and this morning I'm here with you, getting to just talk about what God's done in my life. You know, last weekend I was at Willow Creek Community Church in Chicago, and next week I'll be at a tiny church with 150 people, and a retreat with 75 people the next week. And so no matter what the size, no matter who the audience, what I do is I travel, or I write, or I just consult, or just do whatever I possibly can just to, again, as a tiny little arrow, point to the very God who changed my life.
Unfair question with so little time, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You're telling your story.
Yeah.
What's happening in the present tense in terms of the David Nasser story? What is God doing in you now that doesn't relate to your public ministry?
Sure. In a very private sense, you know, I'm having the greatest summer of my life, you know, in one way. In that I've lost 35 pounds. I'm seeing more people come to Christ than ever. I've got 3 books coming out, one of them being this one, please go buy it. You know, we have a record that I co-produced with my best friend. It's #1 on iTunes in Christian market. We're doing tours that are just going to be amazing tours right now. So on the ministry side, incredible things are happening. On the personal side, my mother is dealing with Alzheimer's. And her life is just on a downward spiral of memory loss. And my father's dealing with seeing his wife go through that. And so I feel like on one side things are incredibly flourishing and growing. But then at home, my heart is always, I also wake up every morning. And this morning while I'm ironing my shirt, thanking God for getting to be here, I'm also thinking, I wonder if Mom slept at all last night. And so on that sense, this is the most difficult season of us being here too, because it's hard to walk in a room and sometimes your mother doesn't recognize who you are. And you just hold her hand.
Your beautiful mother.
Yeah, who you love, who's all in this book. Her story, she's the hero of this book.
I'm trying to visualize her. You present her as a stunning, wonderful, beautiful woman. And I'm sure she's all of that. All of your family came to faith. That's all in the book. It's called Jumping Through Fires, David Nasser, the gripping story of one man's escape from revolution to redemption. We could do another half an hour here. We don't have the time. Thanks for coming our way.
Thanks for having me. I love your show, by the way.
Well, great. Well, love having you. We'll be right back, friends.